educators, family members, and other No Place for Hate leaders, please welcome Khizr Khan.
Honorable Superintendent, our educators, and the best of all, our future leaders. I am so humbled and so honored that you invited me to come and stand before you. This all that you saw, including the last scene that we went to a political convention to speak last year. I would not be exaggerating that moment belonged to all of you. You sent us there, and I shared that story with you. I'll share a couple of stories to show you how powerful your voice, your place is, not only today, but always. In December of 2015, when the most bigoted statement of American election history was made, all Muslims will be banned, all Hispanics will be thrown out, women are of no equal dignity, judges are partial, without naming names, you know who made that bigoted statement. After that, whenever I would go to visit our friends, small children, at birthday parties, they all knew that I am an attorney. These middle school kids, high school friends would come to me and would say, but we are born here. Why would we be thrown out of here? We don't know any other place to go. Our parents are even born here. We just look a little different. Why we are threatened that we will be thrown out if this person becomes president? So I would hearten them, I would hug them. I had been carrying a copy of the Constitution in my pocket since 2005 after passing of Captain Humayun Khan. We would offer that Constitution to our cadets who would come to visit us as a gesture that you will be taking oath to defend the Constitution of the United States. You should read it. So I would pull out the copy of the Constitution and would read it to them. My most favorite 14th Amendment, Section 1. I urge you to read that if you can get hold of it. They would be heartened momentarily. Then I would call their parents, or their parents would call that they don't want to go to school. Because in school they are being bullied. They are being told that, oh, you will be thrown out of here. Therefore, there is no need to come to school. There is no need to do your homework. They don't want to go to school because of that bullying. They don't eat well. They don't do their homework. They're so worried. This was taking place on one side. In the other part of our life, we received the invitation that a tribute will be paid to Captain Humayun Khan. Do you have any objection at the Democratic National Convention? We told them that no, we do not have any objection. So a tribute was prepared, which was played at the convention. A few days later, an invitation came. The reason I am narrating this story and sharing it with you is that to emphasize the power of your being, the power of your voice. When the invitation came for us to come to speak while the tribute is being paid, because other Gold Star families are also being invited, I asked for some time to think. I wasn't readily, Ghazala and I both were not readily willing to go to the convention. We are private people. humble and modest people. We are non-political. I ask our well-wishers, our other family members, everyone told us, do not go. Your character will be maligned. The criticism that you will receive will be not to your dignity. You will not have the peace and safety that we have enjoyed by living in Charlottesville. So we almost decided we will not go, it's not worth. But then our conscience was bothering because I had hugged those middle school kids. I had answered them and I had encouraged them that this will not happen. Second day, I go to check the mail. That is where your power comes into play. Second day, I go to check the mail, and in the mailbox there is a white envelope. Inside is a card. I open the mailbox and take out the mail and that card. Because it did not have any stamp on it, so somebody must have come to the mailbox and placed it in the mailbox. Out of curiosity, I opened it immediately. And this is what that card said. It was sent to us from one of the local middle schools. The name of the school was on top, and there were 4 names of the 5th graders. See the part. 5th graders wrote just one line. It said, Mr. and Mrs. Khan, will you make sure that Maria is not thrown out of this country? We love her. She's our friend. I read that card twice standing there and hurriedly walked back to inside the house, and I showed it to Jolla. I said, see, our call. Our students need us. We must go. Regardless of the cost, regardless of the price, we must speak. And we went. I wrote the speech, and the rest is a long story. What I mean to say is that you sent us there. That speech, even today, it is dedicated to you. It will always be dedicated to your power, the power of your words, the power of your courage that you have displayed throughout this political season. I want to share you another story, the impact of that speech that you inspired us to share with the rest of the world, our concerns about the bigoted political statements and thereafter bigoted policies. I was in Washington, D.C. after 2 or 3 weeks of the speech. I was walking from one meeting to another meeting. A very humble, modest lady touched my arm and said, Mr. Khan, I want to say thank you for speaking on behalf of all of us. I am grateful. We are Hispanic Americans, can't you tell from my appearance? So I humbly bowed before her, thanked her, and wanted to walk further. And she said, but I have to tell you my son's story, how your speech has impacted him. And I'm not being immodest, I am sharing the power of your encouragement. All of this activity, and I'll share further why we have continued to speak. It's on behalf of all of you. You inspired us to go to that stage. So she tells me that one day I came back from work. After school, he comes first, and he does his homework with his bedroom door open. One day I came back, and the door was closed, and he was listening to something. I didn't pay much attention. I thought maybe something interesting he's listening, so I shouldn't disturb him. Next day, same thing, he was listening to something, and I could not be patient anymore, so I opened the door and I walked in. I asked him, what are you listening? And he pointed his telephone towards me. He was listening to your speech. Your inspired speech. I said, why? This is second day I came and you're listening. Again, I thought you were doing your homework. And this is what she said. Her son said to her, Mom, whenever I'm bullied in school, I come back home and I listen to this speaker. It gives me courage. It enables me to go again next day and face the difficulty that I face. She was amazed at this taking place. Why didn't you tell me this? So she takes him next morning to the principal of the school. She said, this is what's been taking place in my son's life, and this is how we have been dealing with it. Wise principal calls the teacher and the entire class to her office and says not a word, just places her phone on the table and plays the speech for the rest of the class to listen. And the class listens and she dismisses them. They go back to their class. A couple of days after this exercise, mother asks son, how is it now? Are you still being bullied? And this wonderful 10-year-old person had smiled on his face. Said, Mother, no, not anymore. Everyone is my friend. This is the power of the words. This is the power of your inspiration. You inspired us to go up there. All of that effort was on behalf of you. Our effort to continue to speak had been on behalf of all of you. When I received this invitation to come, when I was told that I'll be standing in front of my heroes, all of you, each and every one of you, I was so happy, glad, inspired that without hesitation, I accepted the invitation to come and share these stories with you. You will ask, fine, this is all behind. Why have you continued to speak? There is another reason. We have received, since the speaking at the convention, we have received thousands of letters, cards, amazing notes, and I still continue to receive. If you came home, you will see those notes and letters. We have kept them on our dinner table and in boxes now. There is one letter that stands out, and the reason I narrate this is that it is very important for us to know, as my friend Tammy said earlier, to continue to speak. We are civilized people. We conduct ourselves with civility. Civility in political discourse. We do not confront. We do not get involved in violence. But in civility, we have a voice. This is what that letter says to us. It's written by a Second World War retired army nurse. 25 pages of narrating her story of serving in Second World War and telling us what she observed. At the last page she writes to us, and that message I carry with me. The message is, Mr. and Mrs. Khan, please continue to speak. Had more people spoken prior to Second World War, the atrocities that were committed against our Jewish brothers and sisters could have been avoided. The atrocities committed against the mankind in Second World War because of hate, because of the supremacy, concept of supremacy, could have been avoided. World would have avoided, could have avoided the atrocities committed against mankind. Please continue to speak. So we have continued to speak with that message that we will not let that happen ever again. In brief, I wish to mention, a few weeks ago I was invited to commemorate Holocaust. I was invited to Boston to Terrorism Music Foundation. I am this humble person, so undeserving, is the recipient of Terrorism Music Legacy Award of 2007. So undeserving, yet I was invited and that Legacy Award was presented. Prior to the award, there was music in the Boston Symphony Hall. We heard the music. We heard the music that was composed in terrorism German camps by my Jewish brothers and sisters. And the children of those camps sang the songs that I watched and I heard. If you have a moment, look into that. Amazing, hopeful message, amazing, hopeful music. I was awestruck. Under those difficult circumstances, they produced the music and the legacy of music that we enjoy even now. Looking at their faces, faces of small children that sang those songs. Those movies were made by Nazis as a propaganda movies, but luckily we have them now to see what difficulties they were going through. The hopefulness on those faces have left an imprint in my heart and in my soul. How hopeful they were. They knew fully well what lies ahead, what their circumstances are, but they continued to speak. At the end of that music arrangement, there was last scene that one of the musicians said, and it is for that reason I share this story and experience with you. This is what they asked. They didn't ask anything else. They asked, do not forget me, and we will not forget. That was their asking. Under those circumstances, they were so hopeful. How dare we are not so hopeful? This is the moment that this nation is going through some difficult moments. The bigotry, the hate seems to be everywhere. But our legacy is legacy of hope, legacy of civil discourse. We disagree, we conduct ourselves with civility. I wish to read you something that I was awestruck when many years ago I read, and I promise with myself that I will always remember these circumstances. I apologize, it has some graphic reference, but it must be shared so we know how far hate can take us. Why it is imperative for my future leaders sitting among us to hear this, so that they would remember that we will not let hate, racism, indignity prevail. This is 1938. It was a cold night in November 1938. Men with hatred in their hearts and bats in their hands set out about smashing shops belonging to Jews. At the end of the night, some 267 synagogues were destroyed. This is 1938. The windows of 7,500 Jewish-owned businesses were shattered, and several Jewish cemeteries were desecrated. You read some of that even this moment, these days. At least 91 Jews were killed in the mayhem. Up to 30,000 Jewish men were rounded up and sent to concentration camps. Glass from smashed storefront windows lay strewn across the streets of Germany. That night of infamy
is notorious in history as Crystal Night, the night of broken glass. Crystal Night was a turning point on the path to concentration camps and the Holocaust, at the end of which 6 million Jews, my brothers and sisters, 6 million Jews would be killed, creating what has been acknowledged as one of the most murderous episodes in history. I want my future leaders to remember these atrocities of history. The classic, and this is what we need to be vigilant about even under these perilous times. The classic pattern from the fascist playbook has been first, abuse and demonize the minority community, then isolate it, then suggest violence, and finally encourage and indulge in violence and hatred. We may not have thankfully reached there yet, but hate has no place in America. The reason I recited these incidents and the letter that we received is to remind ourselves where hate, intolerance, bigotry can lead us. We want to be mindful. We are people of democracy. Captain Khizr Khan wrote an article when he was at University of Virginia. And that title of that article so very much applies today. The title was, "Democracy Requires Vigilance and Sacrifice." Look where we are, where our democracy is, under attack by those who do not wish us well. Internally, the hate groups, un-American hate, un-American attacks on communities. I come from Charlottesville, Virginia. I was there on 12th of August when the city of Charlottesville was assaulted by neo-Nazis. I saw with my own eyes the Nazi flag that we had buried in Second World War by sacrificing my sons and daughters, brothers and sisters, and thousands in Europe so that we will never see that again. I saw with my own eyes, and you must have seen on television the display of that Nazi flag on the streets of Charlottesville, Virginia. And then the chants. But then I was there on Wednesday as well when America showed up. The entire community with children, families, candles in their hand at Peace March on the sacred ground of University of Virginia. That is America. That is true America. That is what the majority of America is. So your concerns, your devotion to our democratic values, in protecting our democratic values, majority of America supports it. Never feel isolated. Never feel alone in this struggle. Majority of America stands with all of us. We just need to remain faithful to our values, our democracy that is under attack. You will say, what is democratic value? What is democratic system? The world is divided in two parts. One, we have authoritarian system, dictators deciding what rights the people that they govern, they rule will have, or we as people of democracy, we elect our own leaders. We decide what rules we will live under. We enact our own rule through legislation. We don't like them, we change them. But the authoritarian system, the dictators, rulers that have monopolized, have captured everyone's civil liberties, decide what rights benefit them so that they can share it with the rest of the nations. We elect our leaders. If we make mistake, as we made in last election, we correct it next time. 7th of November is around the corner. A few days ago, I was in New Jersey. There is an election of governor of New Jersey. Prior to then, in Virginia, there is election. Participate. In democracy, always remember, silence equals death. Do not be silent. Speak. Participate. Join hands. We are blessed that organizations like ADL exist. There are many other civil liberties organizations, civil rights organizations that exist. If you don't agree with any of them, create your own organization. Don't be silent. You have power. You moved us by one line, by writing us one simple card to get up there. Imagine the power of your words, the power of your voice, the difference that you can make and you will make. I assure you the sentiment that exists among you at this very moment, it's nationwide. I have spoken to, today is my 163rd event to speak and stand before the community.
Yes.
You sent us on this journey. We have not stopped. I assure you the entire nation feels that way. The majority of this nation feels concerned. It is obligatory on all of us to remain hopeful, to conduct ourselves with civility. Democratic people always engage, that's a tradition of democracy, that we always engage with those with whom we do not agree with civil discourse. Never lose that quality of democratic people. It's civil discourse. We disagree, but we conduct ourselves with civility. That is missing in Washington these days. But you can set an example within your communities, within your schools, within your neighborhoods, within your groups, that we will conduct ourselves with civility. Then make sure that if you see somebody being bullied, somebody being unfairly treated, this is our tradition. Our tradition is fairness. The power comes from making that decision. I will always stand with fairness. If you see somebody being treated unfairly, you don't have to fight, you don't have to get involved in violence, but you can voice your concern and your disagreement by speaking strongly against unfairness. That is our tradition. And the rest, we will correct this. The anomaly that this nation is going through, we will correct this. Be hopeful. Be source of hope for your communities, for yourself, for your school, for your classes, and you will see that you will prevail. And the reason I wanted to share these personal stories, because it is a tribute to each and every one of you. You sent us on this journey. You have continued to help and support us on this journey. And in conclusion, I was at Peabody Elementary School and went to speak to 6th and 7th graders. They had copied the Constitution from internet and had cut and paste and had marked amazing interest in the Constitution. I had read the Constitution of the United States, Declaration of Independence, and all the dignities that are enshrined in 1972. Since then, I used to dream, would I be able to have these freedoms that are enshrined in these documents? First Amendment, 14th Amendment, and here we are. So I saw that and I asked their teacher, their civics teachers, Charlie Merrick. I said, Mr. Merrick, is there a book for our middle school students that is written specifically for their interests? And he said, no, there isn't any. So we have put together a book, it's called This is Our Constitution. Look it up, you will enjoy it, you will like it. It's from the middle school perspective, and it harnesses the interest that you have to get to know your foundational documents, our Declaration of Independence, our Constitution, meaning our rule of law, and our Bill of Rights. I am so glad that you invited me, that you listened to these stories. These are your stories, and you have inspired. I have one last request, if you would honor me. If I could invite two of your representatives, please come and stand with me at this stage. Would you please? Two of you.
And Jacqueline, you are also our representative here this morning. Jacqueline, there we go.
Please come. Please look this way, turn this way. And do this. This is your representatives. And henceforth, you all, this is a symbolic gesture. You all are custodians of the Constitution of the United States. And I place this in your blessed hands. Thank you very much.